Hello and welcome back. So, today I'm going to talk about my adventures with CPS and my crazy family. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to go a little ways back so you can get the full effect of everything that's been happening in my life. But I promise it does lead up to recent events, and at the very least, it's an entertaining story. So, around the time my father died, I was about 8 years old, and about after 2 years from his passing, my mom went off the rails just nuts. And my house became the local party house. It's where all the teens came out to hang out and party. She would supply the alcohol and take the car keys so that no one was driving drunk, and then basically just disappear. She would normally go into town or something. She wasn't ever on premises. It was just a whole bunch of teenage boys, me and my two younger siblings, and just massive parties going on with lots of drinking, lots of drugs. One of the nights I remember, I woke up in the morning and there was a strange man on our couch. And I thought, well, that's odd. And I later learned that my mom had met him at the bar. He was too drunk to go home, to his home. So she decided to bring him home to our house to sleep on our couch. Strange man entering into our house, asleep in the same house with a woman he didn't know and her three children. Probably not the safest, wisest idea, but luckily he actually did turn out to be a really cool dude and nothing terrible came out of it. He had a younger son, and that's where the parties started happening. So during that time period, a lot of the local moms did not like my mother because they knew that her house was where all their kids were going to go do a bunch of shit that they did not approve of. Also, during this time, my aunts had decided that my mom was not in the best state of mind to raise all the children, and they wanted to adopt my youngest sister, but my mom said no, and that never happened. Um, but the reason I bring that up is because my family is known for baby snatching. Every time someone in the family has a baby, they all think that they can raise it better or do a better job, and they try and take the baby. This also comes into play in my story, I promise. So they tried with my sister, that didn't work. They tried with my cousin when she had a baby. That's a whole nother story and not my story to tell, but that one did work. They did end up taking her child from her. And eventually they tried with me, which is what I'm leading into. So, one of the interesting things about that was my family all thinks they can do a better job of raising somebody else's children, that the parents are not doing a good enough job. But the hilarious thing to me is my one aunt went to jail for embezzlement, uh, lots of money, lots and lots of money. But during the time before anyone knew what was happening, she was one of the higher people in the chain that was always trying to get people's children taken from them because they just were not in a good living situation, and she could do better, except she actually wasn't doing better. She was stealing money from her boss. um, I later came to find out that my mom was also embezzling a lot of money from her boss. And on top of that, her other sister was embezzling a lot of money from her boss. Apparently, there's an embezzlement problem in my family where they all go to jail for embezzling lots of money from their boss to prove that they're the better caretakers in their family, which to me is just outrageous that is their idea of good parenting, is by stealing lots of money to raise your kids in a lifestyle that you obviously can't afford. So, anyways, skipping forward a bit, I ended up getting a divorce from my husband and moving upstate to where my family was so that I had support as a new single parent. And when I decided to do this, I told my mother up front, if you ever try to take my child or call CPS on me, that's it. You better win and you better get her, because I will take her and I will run as far and fast away as I can, and you will never see us again. I thought she understood this. It seemed like a pretty well understood thing. She said, okay, and I packed up and I moved upstate with me and my daughter. And for the first couple of months, it went really well. My mother doted on my daughter. My daughter absolutely adored her. They had a lot of fun. She helped with the babysitting. Then things started to get a little bit tense. My mother and my sister are very OCD in their life. Everything has to have a place. It has to be perfect. And then there's me, where I don't have any plans. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I am not even remotely organized. And it drives them absolutely nuts. My parenting style is about the same way. I let my kid play in the dirt. If she wants to eat the dirt, I'm not really going to stop her. It's not going to hurt her. It's dirt. That is not acceptable. The other issues that they had with how I raise my child is I'm very holistically inclined in parenting. So she doesn't get sugar, she doesn't get McDonald's, she doesn't get processed food. She only gets water. If she gets any juice, it's extremely fresh pressed and such. So yes, I will let her eat dirt. No, I will not let her eat McDonald's. And apparently that was also wrong and a terrible idea at parenting. So we had a lot of arguments about that. And my mom would constantly sneak her a bunch of things, from marshmallows to McDonald's food, and it would upset her stomach. She would get sick, and I would get annoyed because now I have a kid that's cranky and has this tummy ache, and it was just chaos. But her response was always, well, I'm grandma. Grandma can do that. The other thing that she did that really annoyed me was my daughter is allergic to milk. I knew this from the moment I was pregnant with her. Her entire father's family line is allergic to milk. They have all been allergic to milk all the way up until about the age of 6. And when I got pregnant, if I had any dairy products or milk of any sort, she would kick the tar out of me. And I knew she was allergic to milk. So when she was born, I didn't give her any milk products. There was no milk whatsoever. Like I said, it's hereditary. It's in her family line. I knew it when she was a baby fetus. So milk was out of the question. My mom did not believe this. She believed that unless a doctor had specifically told me, it was fine for her to give her milk. So she would constantly sneak her little products that had milk in it. And my kid would get sick and cranky and sore and colicky and cry. And I knew when she got milked. And my mom would tell me that it was just all in my head and that that's what babies do. And until I got a doctor's approval that and tested her, there was no way I could know she was allergic to milk. I wasn't going to pay to have a doctor tell me what I already knew about my kid. Apparently this also was not acceptable because my mom went behind my back, took my kid to the doctor, and got her tested anyways. I found this out because she brought me the paperwork and said, ha, I told you she's not allergic to milk. It says so right here, not lactose intolerant. Well, if you also go down through the pages, there was 3 other things that is another form or name for milk, I can't remember them offhand, that she was highly allergic to, but that's not what my mom wanted to look at. She wanted to look at just lactose, which isn't what my daughter was having allergies to. So in her run of trying to prove me wrong, she actually proved me right and showed me that she was willing to go beyond my wishes as a parent and behind my back to go get my daughter tested, which I was also unpleased about. So at this point, we're starting to have a couple of more issues and bumps in our relationship. So a couple of weeks go by and I come home And CPS, Child Protective Services, is at my door. I'm like, what in the crap? So I open the door and I'm like, can I help you? And she goes, yes, there was a report of child endangerment and abuse that I needed to come check out. And I'm having no idea what could have possibly done this because I haven't done anything, but whatever. So I let her into the house and she reads to me the report that was given to her. The report was that my daughter was always in the same clothes, that she was never changed, that the house was unlivable, and what was the other thing that was on it? That there was dirty food dishes all over the place. So the lady looks around and my house is not neat. I have a lot of children toys everywhere. My child is a walking tornado. She plays, she throws things, she randomly goes in and out of stuff, and she just does what toddlers do. She destroys rooms. So I don't pick up any messes until the end of the day for her to start all over again. This is what we do. This is our day. So the lady comes in and she looks around and there are toys everywhere. So many freaking toys. But it's not dirty. It's not dangerous. There's nothing that's harmful. There's just clutter of toys. So she marks off that the house is clean and that there's not any issues. So she goes to the kitchen and there's no food or anything lying around. And she goes into my daughter's closet, and my daughter's closet has a whole bunch of Janie and Jack and custom made outfits. My daughter, I like the Janie and Jack, but the custom outfit, she doesn't like tags or scratchy clothes. So she has a lot of silk, satin, really nice soft fabrics, because if they're not soft and nice, she rips them off and then she's naked, which to me is not acceptable. I do not want a naked running toddler all over the place. So yeah, she goes into my kid's closet. She's probably got, no joke, about 200 different outfits. We really like clothes. And she laughs and marks off that my daughter has clothes and that there's no issues. So I start talking to the lady and she's looking around and she goes, I probably can't say this, but I think you've pissed somebody off. The report I was given doesn't match anything here at the house, and the people that have called it in are really upset with you. And I said, I know who it was and I will deal with it. Thank you for everything. She goes, all right, well, everything's good. I'm going to close the case and leave. So she does. At this point, I call my mother absolutely livid, because everything that the lady had said was the exact same things my sister had said to me a couple of days ago. Almost word for word, that my house was messy, that my child hadn't changed any clothes, that there were issues. Well, first off, when you look at my house to their house, yes, my house is messy. I'm not OCD. They are actually diagnosed OCD. So yes, my house compared to theirs is not clean. It's cluttered, but it's not dirty. The other issue my family had was the fact that my daughter's clothes were never changed. Well, there was two reasons for that. One, whenever my family came over, it was normally around the time my daughter had her riding lessons. So she wore the same outfit to ride her horse in, because I'm not going to get horsehair on every other outfit. She has one outfit, it gets washed, she rides her horse in it, and that's the end of it. So if you come around riding time, she's going to be in her riding clothes. They don't change. The other reason is my mother doesn't really respect clothing. So when I was sending her in these custom made, not cheap outfits, they were coming back covered in mustard, chocolate, whatever it was my daughter had eaten that day. I'd asked her multiple times to take her out of the outfit. She didn't. And they were getting ruined. So when my daughter went over to my mother's house, she had 5 play outfits that she went over in, and that was it. Well, my mom wanted her in the super cute outfits. And I told her, no, I'm not sending her in the super cute outfits. They're too expensive for them to keep coming back stained and ruined. So she's getting the not so cute outfits that I don't really care what happens to them. So that was the issue for that. So anyways, yeah, I knew who it was who called because it was just too coincidental. It was word for word everything that they had just said to me the day prior. So I called my mom, absolutely livid, and my mom goes, well, it wasn't us. We didn't call. I don't know what's happening. And it just wasn't us. And I said, it had to have been you. It was word for word what you guys said. My sister works for CPS, so I wasn't surprised that she would make a report. And then on top of it, one of the things I forgot to mention was the worker knew my exact schedule. When I was up, when I was sleeping, when I was home, when I was working, when I wasn't working, and when she could come, because she had mentioned it in our conversation. I am a very busy person. I don't have random people over at my house. I was working extremely hard at the time, and the only person that was over at my house was my sister and my mother and my sister's husband, but I didn't really think he was the one who called. So those are the only people that knew my schedule to a T that could give it to this lady. So my mom swears up and down it was not her who called CPS. And I said, fine, it had to have been my sister. So I'm cutting my sister out of my life. I don't want her around my kid. I don't want her around me. She's not allowed over to my house. That's it. End of discussion. So my mom hears this and she calls the CPS lady back and she goes, I don't know where the report came from, but my daughter's a really good mother. There's no issues. There's no problems in the household, and it's all just bogus. So the CPS lady's like, that's great, but I already closed the case. There's no issues. Everything is fine. So a couple of weeks go by and my mom keeps trying to tell me how I need to forgive my sister, that it probably wasn't her, that it was probably just a nosy neighbor, and I'm overreacting. So she's telling me this, and we're on our way to ballet class. So we get to the ballet class. It's my daughter's first ballet class, and she's not really particularly having it. So my mom decides that she's going to join her in the class to make sure that she has fun with it, and she hands me her cell phone. I am not even ashamed. I went through it because I knew if my sister had called CPS, she would have told my mother about it. And if she hadn't called CPS, I didn't want to wrongfully cut her out of my life. So I went through my mom's cell phone and found out it was my mother who had called CPS, and that during this entire time that I've been up in Michigan, she has been collecting evidence against me to give to CPS to claim my daughter. So now I am beyond livid. And I'm trying to keep my cool because we're in a public place, and we get outside and I hand my mom the phone and I call my sister and I said, you need to come get Mom. I am done with all of you. I'm over it. I'm done. And she tells me she's working, she can't get Mom, and deal with it. So I tell my mom to get in the car, that I will take her home, and that'll be the last time I see her. And my mom freaks out, and she's screaming and yelling at me of how she's not going to get in the car, and she refuses. Well, the ballet place was about 45 minutes, 45 is a bit of an exaggeration. It's probably about 30, maybe 25 minutes from my mom's house, and my mom is legally blind, so she's not supposed to be driving. I don't know if she can call an Uber. So I told her, no, get in the car. I can't just leave you in this kind of slightly sketchy area of town because that's not cool. And Mom says no. And I said, fine, I will take you to McDonald's where you can sit in the air conditioning because the ballet place was closing, and my sister can come and pick you up there. So we get to, she agrees to this. McDonald's is about 2-3 miles up the road, not far. And we get to McDonald's and I stop the car and she gets out and she is screaming at my daughter, how her parents are trash and they're going to lose her and no one's going to love her and good luck in her life, and just screaming at my daughter. So I drive off. I'm like, no, I'm not having you yell at my kid. My kid is crying in the background. Grandma, who is her absolute favoriteest person in the world, is just yelling at her, and she can't understand what it is she's done wrong to get this kind of reaction. So as I'm driving off, I call my sister and I tell her, Mom is in the parking lot of McDonald's. That's where she's at. She'll be there until you get off in 45 minutes to go pick her up. That's the end of it. That's all I'm going to have to deal with you guys. So I get a call from my brother going off on me about how I left my mom stranded in the middle of a highway. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, this is what Mom said. She said that you dropped her off in the middle of the highway, that you made her walk home. So I sent him the screenshot of my message to my sister when I had texted her to confirm that she had actually picked up our mother at the McDonald's parking lot where I left her. And that was the end of that. He didn't contact me after that and didn't have anything to say, because I guess it wasn't as cool of a story as me leaving her in the middle of the highway. So I go home and I'm super upset and flustered about everything. And the days start going by. It's now been a couple of days, and I get a call from my ex-husband, and he's freaking out. My mom has called him and told him that our daughter is in danger, that he needs to call and get me put on, I don't even know what it's called, but it's where the person is mentally incapable of raising a child, and that he needs to help her take away custody of Athena because she's unsafe and she's in danger and the house is not safe, yada yada. Well, I'm in contact with my ex. We talk all the time. He calls my daughter constantly. They video chat. She walks around with the phone. She shows him the house. So he knows what the house looks like. He lived with me for 10 years. He knows what my life looks like. Him and my mom never got along, so he already knows that she's a bit loopy. But he was still concerned because no one likes to get a phone call from anyone saying that your daughter is in danger, followed by a phone call from CPS saying we had to investigate your ex-wife, but everything was cool. So while that's going on, he then texts me the next day, and apparently my mother is giving him my locations, like minute by minute, hour by hour. So now she's following and stalking me. I'm like, are you absolutely nuts? Because the things she's telling him, nobody should know about when I'm up, when I'm going to sleep, where I'm going. But she's telling him all these crazy things of what I'm doing. So I'm like, sweet Lord, she's lost her mind. She's also blowing up my phone, and I'm telling her, do not contact me. I have nothing I want to say to you. I've got nothing more that has to be said on any of this. I block her number. She gets a new phone number. I block that number. She gets a new phone number. I block her on Facebook. She gets a new Facebook. So then she starts threatening me. She's going to sue me. She's going to take my child. She's going to put me into a mental hospital or whatnot. You name it. So at this point, I'm actually legit getting scared for my daughter. I think like she's going to come to the house and take her in the middle of the night, because that's how crazy this is getting. So I go to the courthouse and I get a paper to file for a restraining order. The paper goes through, I get a court date, we get to the court date, and the judge sits us down and he goes, well, I don't feel like you're in imminent danger, so I can't give you a restraining order, but he then turns to my mom and tells her, you need to leave her alone. During this court case, my mom has admitted that she has continued contacting me, that she's changed her number, that she's changed her Facebook, and that she has been harassing me, which I thought was interesting that the judge still did not give her a restraining order. But he said, you have to stop, and if you continue this, I'm going to have to give her the restraining order. So that was the end of that, and I decided to move. and change my name, change my Facebook, and basically just go MIA because the state wasn't going to help me, obviously. I couldn't get a restraining order even though she had admitted that she was going absolutely psycho. So I move. I move to a different city. I changed my job. I've lost my job because I've moved. And she's still trying to find me. She is going through my friends list. She was contacting people from high school that haven't even talked to me since high school, trying to find me. Just absolute craziness. So this goes on for about a year until I can get my whole life together to move. And I finally get everything situated and I move away, and it's been pretty quiet up until recently. I guess somehow she found me again. And has access to my pages where I've been telling stories about my daughter that I think are funny and cute, and I felt safe enough to start telling these cute, funny stories again. Well, one of the stories that I told was how my daughter recently had an accident in the bed. We've been working on potty training, and she had taken a dump, squished it around like toddlers often do. She was super fast, and we got it quickly cleaned up, and her quickly cleaned up. Not an issue. It was just one of those funny life moments. I think all mom, well, maybe not all moms, but quite a few moms have been in the same situation where you're just like, I don't know what's happening in my life, but this is what my toddler's doing, and this is momhood. Well, anywho, somehow it got back to my mom, and now they're trying to call CPS on me again over the story. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. That is not the point of Child Protective Services. My child is not in danger. She was never in danger. She's a happy kid. I'm not doing anything that most parents don't do. But there's a lot of time. I got lucky. I've heard a lot of stories, and I've known a lot of people where people call CPS for stupid things like this, and their kids get taken away from them. A lot of people believe that that's not how it works, and if their kid gets taken from them, they had to have done something wrong, and that they would never remove a child from a home for something as trivial as the stupid stuff that gets called in. But that's unfortunately not true. There is a lot of times where you get a cranky worker or someone who's got something against society and feels like they've got to save all the babies or whatnot, and it's just a bad day, and the next thing you know, you've lost your kid until you can prove that you're a good parent. So yes, when CPS got called on me, I was terrified that my daughter was going to be taken from me because I was letting her ride a horse. Like, how crazy is that? And it blows my mind that people would use CPS for such petty, stupid, silly reasons when there's a lot worse going out there. You're wasting these agents' time when there's children out there that are being legitimately beaten, abused, starved, and other horrific, awful things that are happening to them. But you're going to make a call over a Facebook story? Are you insane? Like, that is just nuts. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, that's my current life story and situation, and where everything is at currently with all the craziness of CPS. I hope you enjoyed the 30-minute tales of my life.